Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are uncovering how a quiet little corner of Alabama literally transformed the landscape of American music forever. We're talking about a place that, against all odds, became the beating heart of rhythm and blues, soul, country, and pop music.
So you really got to ask yourself, right? How does a tiny town in the Deep South become this massive global epicenter for progressive, integrated hit music? Let's dive in and trace this pretty remarkable journey together. To really get it, we actually have to start with a myth. Author Christopher Reale points out that the indigenous legend of the Singing River became totally synonymous with Muscle Shoals. This effectively linked the area to a musical tradition dating back a couple of thousand years. And that legend? It acted like this powerful cultural magnet, shaping how the local music scene was promoted and received from day one.
Part 1. Roots of the Sound.
Way before any recording studios popped up, early pioneers like W.C. Handy were already blending African rhythms with European styles right in this very area. Handy was born in Florence, Alabama in 1873 and drew massive inspiration from the songs of African laborers. He eventually wrote St. Louis Blues. And to put that into perspective, by 1930, that was the single most recorded song in popular music. His legacy really set the stage for all the innovation that was going to follow.
You know, Sun Records founder Sam Phillips experienced this exact melting pot of sounds firsthand. Growing up in pretty relentless poverty near Florence during the Great Depression, Phillips was surrounded by everything, from field haulers in the dirt to the Grand Ole Opry on the radio. He eventually built an interstate network connecting Muscle Shoals to Memphis and Nashville, discovering Elvis Presley along the way. So, this crazy cross-pollination of genres, it was baked into the DNA of the Shoals long before anyone even turned on a studio microphone.
Part 2. A colorblind musical sanctuary.
Now think about Alabama in the 1960s. It was a time of intense, highly charged racial tension and strict segregation. But step inside the walls of Fame Studios on Avalon Avenue, and you'd find a completely different world. Founder Rick Hall fostered this incredible colorblind environment. It was a true integrated sanctuary. Sure, it was dangerous outside those doors, but inside, black and white artists collaborated completely freely.
And that harmony literally birthed the Muscle Shoals Sound. It was this pure, magical alchemy. You had black artists leaning into white country styles, and white session musicians heavily borrowing from the blues and gospel of their black contemporaries. The session players were almost like chameleons, just blending seamlessly with whoever happened to be stepping up to the microphone.
Part 3. Legends in the Studio. It's just staggering to see the sheer variety of artists Fame pulled in, churning out hits across R&B, pop, and country. Jerry Wexler from Atlantic Records brought in absolute heavyweights like Wilson Pickett. Leonard Chess sent Etta James down to record Tell Mama. And it wasn't just R&B either. Fame went on to produce massive pop hits for the Osmonds and huge country anthems for Shenandoah.
But honestly, no story captures that studio's magic quite like Aretha Franklin's. Now, her session actually ended prematurely because her husband started a physical fight right there in the studio. But even so, during her incredibly short time there in 1967, she managed to record I Never Loved a Man. That single session took her from a struggling artist and effectively crowned her the Queen of Soul. She always credited Rick Hall and Fame as the major turning point in her entire career.
Fame just had this wild, completely unpredictable energy. I mean, picture this. In 1968, Duane Allman literally pitches a tent in the studio parking lot just so he could be closer to the sessions. He actually ended up teaching Wilson Pickett how to play the Beatles' Hey Jude on a lunch break. They hit record, and Allman laid down a guitar solo so jaw-dropping that Atlantic Records immediately called up asking who on earth was playing. Rick Hall's answer? Just some hippie cat who's been living in our parking lot. Boom. That moment launched Allman's legendary career.
Part 4. The Fame Evolution. So in 1969, Fame's legendary rhythm section, affectionately known as the Swampers, packed up and left to form their own competing studio just down the road in nearby Sheffield. Now, for most producers, losing your star backing band is a total death sentence. But Rick Hall, he just adapted. He immediately hired a brand new group of elite killer musicians called the Fame Gang, and the hits just kept right on rolling.
Hall was an absolute master at pivoting the studio's focus as the decades went on.
When the R&B era shifted, he moved seamlessly into pop in the 70s with folks like Paul Anka and Mac Davis. By the 80s and 90s, he's dominating the country charts with acts like Jerry Reed and Shenandoah. And amazingly, fast forward to 2025, Fame launched Studio X, the very first fully immersive Dolby Atmos-capable mixing studio in Alabama. They literally never stopped innovating.
Part 5. An enduring musical legacy.
What's really incredible is that Fame isn't just some museum for music historians. It is a living, breathing hit factory today. After Rick Hall passed away in 2018, his family stepped up to keep the legacy going strong. You've got modern stars like Jason Isbell, the Drive-By Truckers, and Demi Lovato continually going back to capture that original Shoals magic. Just to put it in perspective, in 2023, country superstar Luke Combs and Shenandoah hit #1 on the charts by re-recording 2 Dozen Roses right back at Fame, the exact same place the original was cut decades ago.
It really makes you stop and wonder about the sheer power of collaboration against all odds, doesn't it? I mean, if a tiny, racially integrated studio in the turbulent 1960s South could literally shape the sound of modern music, where might the next great cultural alchemy occur? I'm going to leave you with that thought. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and hey, keep looking for the magic in unexpected places.